Here we are with Muriel COLIN, whose French film 17 Girls is based on an actual event that happened. It's a new movie that's being distributed in the United States. 17 Girls is based on an incident, it says at the beginning, Muriel. You wrote and directed this, by the way, with your sister Delphine, who is back in France. But it's based on an actual incident. 17 girls they look like they're about 16 years old in this coastal town in northern France, all became pregnant intentionally as kind of like a protest or an act of affirmation of their independence, or what?
Well, actually, when we read the two lines in the newspaper about that fact, what really interested us is that it was a kind of collective utopia. And I don't think that really in the real facts those girls were aware that they were doing this kind of utopia. I think it was more like informal and, like a snowball growing and growing, and more girls got pregnant. But when we read those two lines, we wanted to give it, in a way, a kind of political meaning. What today, what do they want, those teenagers? Do they want a way out of the economical race that everybody tells them to go in? And we wanted to say with that fact that a way out was possible, a different way of thinking for a new society. I don't know if I'm clear enough.
Well, did you go, for instance, what town was this in France?
It was Lorient, and when the real facts happened in Gloucester, Massachusetts, but in fact...
it really happened not in France,
in
the United States?
We adapted it in France.
But how funny.
It happened in Gloucester.
Okay.
But, when we looked at Gloucester in the newspapers and all that, although I've never been there, it looks so similar to Lorient because it's a middle range town on the Atlantic Ocean, exactly like Lorient, and with a declining fishing industry. All that was very similar to Lorient. And Lorient is the town where we grew up, my sister and I. So we decided that we would adapt the facts in our hometown.
Well, one of the interesting things is then you have created a scenario of how these girls interacted, and as you mentioned, one of their fantasies is that they will be a commune. Somebody says, oh, you're a hippie commune now, you're going to live together and raise your babies together. And of course, at the end of the movie, another girl says that never happened. Once our babies came, that idea was never brought up again. But this whole idea in the movie, which is very sensual and very beautiful, it's filled with American rock music in the background. It really gives us a sense of I thought of mermaids in a way or something. Not
You're
just
right.
that they're by the sea. And we have this beautiful girl who could be she's like the queen of the school, and becomes the gang leader and sort of inspires all these other girls to follow her lead. Yeah. And not be ashamed of being an unwed mother. Don't think of it as ruining their lives and not being able to go ahead with their education, but to see it as an act of liberation. You invented that.
Yeah, we invented that. And it's funny that you say mermaids, because I've never thought of that before, but the dimension of a fairy tale in that fact, it was we were very aware of that from the beginning. With those 17 girls, it's like if you say, once upon a time, there were 17 girls that decided to get pregnant all together. That dimension was very important to us, and that's why in the beginning of the film we wanted like pastel colors to begin the film, and the more and more it goes, the more dark it becomes. So of course, this was, and now I forgot the question, sorry.
Well, it was that you invented this whole idea that there would be a ringleader and she would inspire the rest of them, and the parents were and the teachers were all incapable of stopping the force of her personality.
Yeah. All that was totally invented by us. What remains of the real facts is, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 things from what we learned, but otherwise it's purely imaginative. And yes, yeah, we wanted to have a leader because, as I said, we wanted to give a political side of the fact. And as always in when you have that kind of political action, there's always one leader. So we wanted one leader, and we wanted the others to follow. And also we wanted, like you said, the adults and the boys to be at the background, because what interests us mostly in the real facts are the girls. The protagonists are the girls, and we want to follow them from the beginning to the end, and therefore the boys and the adults are in the background. That doesn't mean that they are not important, but just we wanted to follow the girls all the time, and they are 17, so we had a lot of matter to deal with.
Well, when you talk about the political idea of the film, as I watched this, I couldn't help but ask myself, are these young girls incredibly naive or incredibly stupid? At one point, one of the girls joyfully says, "Now I won't have anybody telling me I'm going to have to clean up my room." Like, the best thing about having a baby is that they won't have their mothers around to tell them what to do. And the other thing we find out with them is they have no real interest in being healthy mothers. We see them smoking and drinking during their pregnancy without a care in the world about what's going to happen to their babies, which seems so antithetical to, I guess, politically correct thinking.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are two aspects in your question. The first thing is that we didn't want them to be naive, or for us they are powerful girls. You know, they are. They want to change something in the life that the future life that we, or like that society offers them. You know, so in a way they are the inheritance of feminist girls in France or wherever, in the way that what the feminists said in the 70s is that we want kids, we will have kids when we want to. Those girls, they don't say anything different. The only difference is that in the 70s they wanted as late as possible. And those girls, they want it now because the conditions have changed. And now I think it's more possible to have everything at once than it was in the 70s, where you had to stop work to have your kids. So in a way, those girls, they are not stupid or naive. We do think that they are intelligent and powerful. They know that they can bother everybody by being pregnant. Society, parents, and this is so uncommon that suddenly it becomes like a rebellion, a revolution even, we should say. And
but once the rebellion is over and they're left with the reality of raising children out of school without any hope of getting no education, no real jobs, when the single mother tells the ringleader at the beginning, the first one who is pregnant, she slaps her and she says, "What do you think you're doing?" And the girl says to her mother, "Well, you never had time for me. You've left me alone." And she has an older brother who we find out has been to war in Afghanistan as part of the French military. And so she has been left alone. And her mother says, "Well, do you think I'm working because I like to? I'm doing this to give you food and a house."
Yeah.
None of that seems to, the light bulb doesn't go off in these girls' heads about how am I going to take care of the baby? What am I going to do with this? I mean, France has social programs, but I can't imagine they're going to have happy lives.
Yeah. So there's two aspects in it's true that they don't see the real
ramifications.
Oh yes, totally. But in a way, what we say at the end of the film is that they have tried to dream, they have tried something else. And in a way, this is for us important, that those girls, in a way, they do not satisfy of a life that we offer them as a future.